welcome on the show, Scandar.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate your time
Thank you
for making this. Yeah, man, I recently watched your movie, Ajami, and I was really like, it really changed. Like when I was watching it, it seemed pretty predictable, but then as you go on, you're like, what just happened? Because the chapters flip through, and you're like, why did we just suddenly go back to this scene? But then at the end, everything like falls into place, and I was like, wow. So that was like really interesting. So I wanted to ask you, like, what was the inspiration behind creating that movie? Like, what did you want to like achieve?
Yeah. Well, inspiration, it's a big question. A lot of things inspire me. But yeah, what I wanted to achieve, what we wanted to achieve, I co-directed it with one of my best friends, Yaron Chani, and well, we had this idea of telling almost the same story, telling a story of my neighborhood. So Ajami is my neighborhood, but from different perspectives. So the neighborhood itself, it's a kind of a melting pot made of like a lot of different kinds of people.
Mm-hmm.
There's like different nationalities. You have Palestinians, which is
How big is this place? Like,
it's tiny.
Tiny.
It's really tiny.
Okay.
It's like tiny.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's as big as this campus probably.
Really?
Yes, not bigger than this campus.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And so you could find in the same building, different nationalities, Israelis and Palestinians, and everything is divided. So within the Palestinian community, we are divided into, and it's a division. It's a clear division between Muslims and Christians.
And we saw that in the film as well.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and you see those divisions, and the Christians themselves, they're divided into those different churches and different groups of people. The Muslims, they're divided also politically. The northern movement, they call it, and the southern movement. And the Israelis, of course, they're divided between them. Sephardi Jews, which are Jews that come from Arab countries,
Mm-hmm.
and Ashkenazi Jews, which are Jews that come from European countries. And then everything is divided into rich and poor, educated and not educated. And it's a huge task, It's almost impossible to try to create some kind of representation of this place unless you tell the story from those different perspectives in a way to convince your viewers that, reality eventually is a matter of perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're fed sometimes, and sometimes unintentionally, you believe in just what you see or what you were trained to see.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted, and you said in the beginning that you felt that you were tricked almost. So
Yeah.
you see a kind of something that happens, which is real.
Yeah.
These are the facts that are taking place
Mm-hmm.
right now, and then it's being all contradicted because you see them through the eyes of someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But this is reality, right? And this is the essence of conflict. Any conflict, you believe in something. You believe that, I don't know, this. Let's take the most immediate thing I can think of. It's like, I don't know, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Yeah.
Okay,
Major.
So it's like
Yeah.
some people see this place as their ancestors' place. We've been there since I don't know when, and then those people came from Europe and they just kicked us out.
Mm-hmm.
And they see it differently also. They see it like, oh, this place belonged to us like 2,000 years ago, or we were kicked out from Europe, Holocaust, and we have nowhere else to go other than going back to this place. And these are two valid, different, conflicting perspectives that
Mm-hmm.
create this conflict. So we wanted to really do something that breaks the structure that you usually see in films.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a puzzle film like any other puzzle film, like Babel and all those films, where the viewer has an overall view of what happens. So the viewer in, let's say, Babel and all those films knows at any given moment what is happening with this character, and what is happening with that character, and what is happening with this character. And in time, they understand how those characters are linked. And here we decided to do something different. We decided to take the viewer and put him in the shoes of one character that becomes the protagonist, the hero,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you relate to this character, you fall in love with this character, you understand the suffering of this, and the objectives and the motivation and everything, and it becomes your hero up until a certain climatic moment, and we take you out of this character, and we take you to the same journey with a different character that could have been even the enemy of this character, right? Or the antagonist. And then the antagonist becomes a protagonist, because suddenly you start empathizing and engaging with the story of the new protagonist, and then you start loving the new protagonist. And at the end, your views about what happens, at the parking lot are conflicted. You don't know what to feel.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I don't know, like, beforehand, because it was the chapter before it, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched
you
it.
can spoil it.
But basically, like, I don't know the intentions behind why Malik chose to go.
Yeah.
Because a scene after, he's told, like, you're going to lose your job. But then you realize you're like, everything falls into place.
Yes.
So I think that was like, I was like, damn. So that was the intentional
Yes,
motive.
and also, it's also trying to understand in a way that every person perceives himself or herself as a good human being. And we have to be aware of it. We rationalize our actions, thinking that we're doing the best thing for ourselves and for the people we love. And it's true. You just mentioned Malik, and he does the best thing that he can do in order to save his mom, right? All of them. They go there to this horrible thing that will happen at the end of the film, thinking that they're doing the best thing for themselves and for the people they love. They never think about it. Even, Abu Ilyas, who starts all this mess, he just knows that his daughter will suffer if she chooses this way of life. And he wants her to have a better life. And he tells her,
Yeah.
fathers, they protect their daughters, and I'm protecting you. You're young and you don't understand that this way that you chose in life, being with this guy, is going to bring a disaster.
But initially, like, I think you portrayed Abu Ilyas like as a good guy, as a person like who's like willing to do good for others. The way he helped Malik, and then the main character Omar, and then you see this other side of him. It's like, like it's so conniving and like mischievous, and you're like, fuck, like damn.
He doesn't know what's going to happen. He just sends them thinking that this way is going to push this Omar away from his daughter. They're going to jail him. He's anyways a bad person for dealing with drugs.
Yeah.
So he's doing the right thing, right? He doesn't know that this whole thing will escalate and will become something horrible where people will lose their lives, right? So the intentions sometimes are good. I mean, we do things for good intentions, but we're not aware of what might happen.
So as a director, so every scene, everything in that scene is intentional to make some sort of impact or portray some sort of thing to the viewer?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, when you write, there's something in script writing which we call efficiency. And, you have to make sure that every scene is there for a very clear dramatic objective, other than the objective of, making the story progress. That's one thing, but maybe what you don't know about this story or this film is that all the people that you've seen in this film are not actors. So these are real people from the streets. So
they're not actors?
No, so the policeman
Really?
is a real policeman, a former policeman. And those kids are real kids from the neighborhood. So whatever you've seen in this film, these are real people. So if you saw a paramedic just there as an extra, what we call, it's a real paramedic with a real ambulance that we called. So the whole
right. So everything was live.
Everything was live and everything was improvised. So those people in the film, they never knew what the story was about. They never read the script. They never had the chance to be told what the story is about. And I can talk a little bit about the process because it's somehow like a documentary process. It's a life that you create and then you document it with 2 cameras. So it's a very long process of preparations. Yes.
Right. So what stops it from going wrong? From not being what you guys think, or not portraying what you guys should or maybe aim to portray? Because a
prepar-
lot of
Yes.
luck going into like how
Not
they
luck.
would react.
Not luck. First of all, you write a story that is super, super realistic.
Okay.
Okay. So this is how things happen. I'll give you an example. The first scene in the film, there's a murder, and then people take the murdered or the guy that was shot to the hospital. So that's reality. This is how it works. So why? Because when you call an ambulance will be lost, will not show up. You know, it's like it's Palestinians. We wouldn't, you know, we were afraid to go into the neighborhood. So the way it happens and the way it's been happening, if someone is shot, the first car that, you know, is around, they take the person to the hospital. This is how it works for us. So for this first scene, so people didn't know what's going to happen. So and I'll explain a little bit later how this whole thing worked. All those people were trained to improvise, and we hid or we put those people around the scene where we knew that a murder will take place. They didn't know that. Nobody other than the kid that was supposed to get the gunshot and the two people that shot at him, they knew what was happening. And then I asked two people that were in our workshops, that were trained to do improvisations, to come with their car and to park the car somewhere close by. And I asked them to clean the car. So they were actually cleaning the car. And then the shooting happens. And then instinctively,
Yeah.
they came and they took the kid and took him to the hospital. And in fact,
So there's people that were screaming and shouting. This was like
this was real.
this was real.
Yes.
Right.
They knew it was fiction.
Okay.
But this whole method that I work with, I use, is based on something that is called the paradox of fiction, which is our ability as human beings to react with real emotions, like cry for real, be sad for real. Like if I measure the hormones, they're real, like hormones that makes you sad or happy. And we have this ability to react with real emotions to fiction.
Yeah.
Right? This is something that happens when you watch a film. So you're sure that this film is fiction. You're sure that this actor is an actor and is not really dead.
Okay.
Right? But you cry when he dies. But on the cognitive level, you know that, no, wait a second. This is like Brad Pitt. He's not dead in real life. But he's dead here, or his wife left him. But you know that this actress is an actress and she's not really his wife. And she leaves him and he's heartbroken and you cry with him. Right? And this is amazing.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it happens with a lot of reasons why it happens. And we actually have the ability to snap in and out of this paradox of fiction. So you're watching a film, you're crying, and someone interrupts you. So you pause the film and you talk to them on the phone or whatever, and suddenly you're out of your concentration and in what is happening, and then you talk to this guy, and then this guy goes away, and it's like you press play again, and instantly almost, it takes you like a few seconds, you're back in the scene, and you're reacting to what is happening on a screen, knowing that it is not real. So I use this paradox of fiction, but instead of you watching a screen, it's you being in a situation that is a complete work of fiction, like you and I right now, as if you're my little brother and I'm your older brother.
Yeah.
You're not in real life.
Yeah.
You're a student here, I'm a professor here. But if we are concentrated and we're not distracted by anything else, and we don't care about, this fear of failing or doing something that is wrong, so the paradox of fiction kicks in a scene, in a situation like this. And you and I can now improvise and try it. And you will see for yourself that if you're concentrated enough, you don't worry about the cameras, you don't worry about like what other people might say or what are the expectations of this situation, you'll get angry.
Yeah.
Even if I give you a situation that never existed, and I'll start blaming you that you stole $100 from me. And you know you didn't. And you start like talking about it with me, and your body will start reacting to it. And this is how everything was achieved in this film. So we had a lot of people. We had around 300 people that we trained them to understand that we love them for what they are. We don't have any expectations. We don't say that was excellent because you're excellent the way you are. We don't say like, oh, I love the way you're touching your chin, because this is how you touch your chin. There's no sense in like loving certain things and hating certain things. But what we don't love is when you try to pretend. We want you for who you are. And then we train you to do improvisations, like, simple things, like two people sitting in a room and talking about whatever. A guy asking a guy for $100. It's like, but you don't have the $100. This is what we tell you. Yeah, it's like, I don't have the money. This is where it ends, right? And then it becomes more complicated and more emotional. And then through those improvisations that we do, and I do a lot of them, I start getting an idea about the people that I have. It's like, oh, this guy has a very short fuse. I take a note of it.
Okay.
So maybe he's like similar to this character. Okay, so let's go back to Ajami.
Yeah.
So maybe he's very similar to Anan,
Yeah.
Very short fuse. And this guy is super funny, He's like, he's weird, he's funny, he's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredibly funny. Maybe this is Shatta,
Yeah.
Maybe I take a note.
Yeah.
And this guy, he's super sensitive. He looks at things differently, Maybe this is Nasri,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I start getting to know them and basically understanding what they're made of, the material they're made of, right? And then I start casting them. And everybody knows that I'm casting not based on how good you are, because you're all good, but how similar you are to a character I've written. And they know this and they respect this because we work a lot for a month. And I always give the physical example. If I want someone that can play basketball, I will choose someone that can play basketball. I wouldn't choose you because you told me you can't play basketball. You play very well football, but not basketball. And they internalize this. And it's easier for me also to work and to build this trust. What I did in Ajami and what I'm doing in Happy Holidays, my next film, is that I promise everybody that if you're interested to be in the film, you can be filmed in the film. Because you always need extras. So all the people that you've seen in Ajami, and we had like hundreds of them, so even people that you saw in the restaurant, these are people that were trained in our workshop.
Right.
So once this training is, I cast people. I know that you are going to be X and he's going to be Y, and you are siblings, okay? So in Ajami, let's say, so we had those two main families, right? So the Palestinian family, we rented the house 3 months before the film. And we put them in this house, like 3 hours, 4 hours a day, to start building their history together up until the first day of the shooting through improvisation.
So, you mean that family, Nasri's?
Yes, Nasri's family, yeah.
So they're a family?
No,
So
they're not a real family.
They were living together though?
Yes, they would spend like 3-4 hours whenever they could, mostly on weekends, but sometimes in the evenings, cooking together, eating together, getting to know themselves as their characters, right? And creating this bonding together, like celebrating birthdays, going to visit the dead father's grave.
So there was actually a dead father?
Yes. There was a dead,
okay.
Yeah, there was a dead father, like a fictional father,
yeah.
but we had a grave and everything, and we went to visit it. Yes.
Right, so
And
was that...
Yes.
That, like, you guys made it out to be so...
And the grandfathers, the grandfather has like he's half paralyzed. Yeah. So when we started working with them, he wasn't paralyzed. Okay. So we went to parks and we played football and everything. And then one day we took him to the hospital with the mother. And it's part of the improvisation. So they know. We say we started. And then a doctor, a real doctor, explains to them what biologically happens when someone gets a stroke and becomes half paralyzed. And then a nurse explains to them what needs to be done. Basically, changing diapers. Now the old man needs how to wash him, how to feed him, the pills that he needs to take and everything. And then we go back home and the kids are waiting for us back home. And the grandfather's already on a wheelchair. And they react to it. They know it's not real, but it's, the paradox of fiction. It's part of the improv. It's like, Grandpa, what happened? And the mother tells them what the nurse has told her. It's difficult because she saw, the people. She smelled the hospital. She was there. And then I tell them, now it's time to wash Grandpa, to shower him. And it is super, super, super embarrassing. Super embarrassing for Nasri to wash his grandfather.
Yeah.
But in the film starts with him showering it, and it looks completely natural because it's like the 7th time he washes him, So you do it and you do it again and again and again. It's like, this becomes what it is. And they talk about, nonsense there. First get your degree and then get married, whatever. This is not something that we told them. It's like, we're just having a
Okay.
conversation and we film it.
Okay.
And then, we shoot, films usually are not shot chronologically. They're shot per location because it's cheaper. So if you have like 10 scenes that happen in this location, like in the beginning of the film, in the middle of the film, and at the end of the film, you shoot them on the same day. You change people's outfit. We shot the whole film chronologically, from beginning to end, the way the story happens. And people were charged emotionally and also with info that they just experienced. So we never told them like, oh, listen, and this happens to you. It actually happened to them. So a surprise is a real surprise, So if Malik is surprised with this birthday party, he's surprised.
Right.
He doesn't have a clue what's happening. I tell them in the mornings like, peel carrots. And they know how to do it because they were hired for real in this restaurant for 3 months before the shooting, getting paid and everything.
Okay.
So they're trained. They know where the carrots are. I didn't need to have like a props master to get the carrots. They go to the fridge and get the carrots, and they peel the carrots. And a day before, we organized this party for them. And 2 weeks before, I sent the Abu Ilyas and Anan for real to go and visit this sick lady that we have. She's part of our workshops also. She's part of the cast.
So she's sick?
She's not sick.
Okay, yeah.
We put her there, and they go and they film her.
Yeah.
And then Anan tricks him and says, like, police. And this is based on reality. In reality, when the police shows up, what needs to happen, and because Malik is an illegal worker, it's very simple, is Malik knows that he has to go upstairs and to shower and to just wait. Why? Because this is the logics of this world. If they catch an illegal worker working in a restaurant, they will find the owner of the restaurant somewhere around like $20,000.
Wow.
But if they find an illegal person from the West Bank not working, so he's like clean, he's dressed up in a white t-shirt or whatever, he will tell them that I'm looking for a job. So he doesn't associate himself with the restaurant, and they just deport him. Okay? Mm-hmm. So this is what he was trained to do. So in his head, he's climbing upstairs just to shower and to change and to wait, right? And then he's surprised by this party. And it's a real surprise.
Yeah.
He's really surprised, right? He's not pretending to be surprised.
Yeah.
And then he sits there, and there's a long party. This scene was filmed over like maybe an hour and a half.
Right.
They eat a cake, they sing, they give him gifts, a lot of stuff that we went and we bought together. And then they show him his mother,
Yeah.
And with this lady, he established some kind of a relationship. He would go to this hospital every Sunday for 4 weeks to visit her before we started filming. And she would tell him, as part of the improv, that she has a son his age and she misses him and she cannot see him. And he established this like kind of a relationship with her. Mm-hmm. And then I tell him, she's your mother in the film. And he goes, okay. And the funniest thing is that on the premiere night, so we did a premiere for us, for all the people that worked in the film.
Yeah.
And he sees her there. And he goes like, oh my God, I'm so happy that you're well. And she goes like, what do you mean? And she's like, that you're healthy. And she goes like, and I go like, oh my God. But his real name is Ibrahim. It's like, Ibrahim, meet, this is Amal. She wasn't sick, It was part of the improvisations. She's a school teacher from Jaffa. And he wasn't from Jaffa. We got him from outside of Jaffa because we wanted a different accent of someone that lives in the West Bank. He was like, oh my God, I thought she was really sick. And I say, yeah, but it was improv. So this thing, this like...
But don't you think this is like kind of dangerous?
It is,
because you're playing with this, not playing, but you're obviously training these people to be someone else or be a different character. And does that somehow like psychologically like stay with them or
you have to be careful.
Yeah, it's
even for professional actors. Sometimes a lot of roles stay with them, and sometimes it messes their life. There's a lot of famous actors that talked about this experience. Starting from actors that talked about the experience of doing comedies, like Robin Williams, when in fact you're depressed, you're living in deep depression, clinical depression, and others that talked about processes that they went through and their acting that affected their real life. And it does affect. And you as a director, you have to make sure that you can deal with it, you know. And one of the main things that we do as directors is make sure that our actors trust themselves and us enough to bring them back to the state that they were in before a difficult situation. And we use guided imagination, laughing circles, and all those techniques that, and I use mindfulness as well, techniques from meditation to help people calm down and after a very difficult scene. Because some scenes, I don't know, like a scene where the kids in the neighborhood attack the police. It's a very difficult scene. You know, after the scene, people were, you know, tense. You know, they were like, oh my God.
So they actually attacked the...
Yeah, they were trained, everybody
Okay,
in this
yeah.
film. We didn't tell them what's going to happen. So we trained everybody, all the men in the film, how to fight. So no punching. Yeah, because we needed also to make sure that we're protecting people.
Yeah.
So we brought this expert to show them how to fight if something would happen. So no punching, no pulling, no punching, no kicking. It's only pulling and pushing. So you see, it's not a real fight. You see people pulling themselves and pushing themselves. And of course, you add sound effects. So this guy like stumbles to the back, and we added this sound effect as if he was hit on the head, and it looks real because sound effect does it. You know, you think that this guy was hit. And it's like, oh my God. But even when they were trained and nobody was hurt, they were like upset because, you know, nobody wants to be in this situation. So you have to calm them down. You have to, you know, stop filming, put them all in a circle, do like a hugging circle first of all.
Okay.
Yeah, you do it between everybody that was involved in this fight scene.
Yeah.
And then it becomes funny because men, they don't like, and they let go and say like, no, you keep holding. And then it becomes funny. It's like, man, what is this? What are you trying to do? You know, and then you loosen up, you know, and sometimes you need to go to like, you know, the scene with Omar's mom, you know, when he comes back late and she's upset and she starts crying. So she needs time there, and you know, and you go and you hold her hand and you breathe with her, and you ask her to close her eyes, and you do some positive guided imagination with her, and you calm her down, you know, through breathing and through regaining her trust in herself. Because what might happen is that people might go to this like difficult,
Dark place.
dark place. And then they don't want to go there again because they cannot get rid of this, you know. They remain there. And you have to show them ways and techniques how to get back to the present time, to the state that they were in before they went into this like sad or angry place. And we have the ability to do it quickly, usually, yes. But I cannot tell you that even Ajami doesn't change people. Every film, every experience that you experience will change you. And it's always, it will empower you. You know, because we shot the film chronologically, we saw that towards the end, people are more empowered. People talk even more. People that didn't think that they made any difference in their own life as their character started believing in themselves and in their character. So it's the camera gives a lot of power, gives a lot of safety to people. So you're protected by the camera, which in the beginning is the opposite. The camera is intimidating, and it's like, okay, who's gonna watch it? Who's gonna judge me? What am I expected to do? Or whatever I'll do, it's wrong.
So
right?
they don't want to be vulnerable in
Yes.
this situation. Okay.
But then once you overcome this, you understand that there are no expectations, actually. You just be yourself. It starts empowering you. And you would do things that you would never do in your daily life, just because you know you're protected by the camera. And this happens a lot in documentary filmmaking. A lot of people in documentaries, they will be more talkative. They will express emotions when in real life, I mean, their family will watch the film and will tell the director, how come? you know, like this character or the father of the family never cried in his life. It's because if he or she, they feel safe now in front of the camera.
Mm.
And this is the power of the camera, you know. Once you overcome this fear of failing, it empowers you. And so everybody will change, and every film will make you, and every process will make you a different person. Also as a director, you know, also as a writer. You write a film, and then you read it again. You're not the same person that wrote the first draft because you've written it already. So you've changed already.
Do you feel the emotions as you write it? Do you feel like, because when I was watching it, like there was times where I was like, wow, like, that's really sad. And then there was times where I was really angry. And then there's times where I was like, oh shit, like, you know, what's happening? Do you feel the same emotions as the viewer feels it?
I don't think I feel it as the viewer. The way I work is like the other way around. I define the emotion that I think is needed here, and I figure out a way to get there. So I know that, okay, in this circumstance, what would my character feel? So let's say betrayed, okay?
How do you do that though? Like betrayed is such a, it's like a very complex, not imaginative, but very, it's intangible in a way.
Yeah.
How do you do that process?
So if you wanna write a film about someone that feels betrayed, you don't need to understand much about filmmaking. You need to understand a lot about what does it mean to be betrayed. So this is most of the work that we do as scriptwriters. You go the deepest as you can into understanding and learning and researching what does it mean, what does it feel, what are the actions, because what we do as filmmakers is not simple, it's very complicated, but it's like trying to figure out a way to translate a psychology, like emotions, into actions, into behavior, right? This is what we do. Because unlike a novel, we cannot describe what a person feels. In a novel, you can say, and he felt horribly sad, and that's it. In a film, you can't do it. You need to figure out a way to show that this guy is horribly sad, okay? So let's go back to the betrayal question. So what does it mean? How is this depicted? How is this translated into actions? What do people that feel betrayed do? It's only about do. What do they do? How do they react to it? So I don't know. We have to figure out. We have to learn. We have to study, and then we have to choose. So everything is out there, but you need to understand what is out there, and the how-to is just like you collect it, right? So it's like, okay, I'll give you an example. Abu Yas, knowing that his daughter is dating a Muslim, okay?
A poor Muslim as well.
Yeah, a poor Muslim, yeah. And okay, so what is this feeling? What does it feel? What is it coming from? I know what it's coming from, okay? But what does it feel? What would this make a person do? So there's a range of things that could happen.
Yeah.
From letting this happen, I'm supporting you. Just, do what you think is best for you. You love him, so go ahead. Up until honor killing, right? This is the range of things that could happen.
Yeah.
And you start, investigating from your memory. This is something I know a lot about because this comes from my culture. And I chose something in the middle. Why? Because I knew that, he will punish Omar and not her eventually. He's this kind of a father. Okay, he's very much in control of things. But those options and those possibilities, they exist. You just need to pick one of them that serves you best. Serves you in terms of the message, the philosophy of your film, and serves your plot, basically, your story. Because if I would have chosen him to kill her, let's say honor killing, first of all, he's not a kind of a person that would do it.
Yeah, he loves his daughter too much to do that. But he likes his pride and honor as well.
Yeah.
So he was stuck into that complex middle. He was like, what should I do?
Yeah. But even this, this morning, and I read a lot of stories, and this morning I read an article, like a news piece, not an article. So there was an honor killing. This guy killed his sister a year and a half ago. It's a Palestinian guy. And his younger brother, who is now 16, he was 14 and a half then, witnessed the killing of his dear sister that he was very close to. She was like 2 years older than him. And he was about to testify against his own brother about this murder. And today they found this 16-year-old kid dead. So his own family killed him. Now this is distorted. This is completely nuts.
Yeah.
So it's a brother that kills his sister for whatever reason, honor, yeah? And then his brother wants to testify against him, and someone, probably him, kills his brother as well. Or his family kills the brother to protect the other brother. To protect this whole idea of honor killing. You're safe if you kill your sister. Now you put this in a film, I don't know if it's believable, right?
Yeah.
But reality is like much more crazy than any film that you can imagine.
Yeah.
But again, going back to script writing, you have to make your, decisions based on what serves you and what is, for me, it's very important, what in a way doesn't take away my philosophy, doesn't contradict with it. The idea that people think that what they do is good, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted Abu Ilyas to remain in this position where he still, if he could penetrate to his brains, he goes like, I made the right decision.
He still considers himself a good person.
But killing, it's radical. Killing is not, it cannot be right.
Because first I thought because we saw the last scene and then we saw the scene of Abu Ilyas saying, you should go. You first think like, maybe he planned this, that he wanted this dead. But then you realize, no, it was actually his brother that he thought it was, okay.
It was like, it was like a kind of the butterfly effect, you know. Nobody planned this.
Yeah.
Something happened. A lot of things happened and aligned in a certain way that made this horrible thing.
Did you receive any backlash from your film? Like any criticism that was...
Yeah, of course. I mean, a film that doesn't get criticism is not a film, you know.
What were they actually?
The biggest criticism I got was from actually the older generation in my neighborhood, in Yafa in general.
Okay.
Telling me in a very nice way, like, okay, we understand that we have these problems, and but why, putting it out there, talk to us. The younger generation should talk to the older generation, and let's find ways to resolve it. And I said, but this is, I think, one of the ways to start a conversation, and it's good that this conversation is taking place. And I said, yeah, but this conversation should have taken place without the film coming out, you know?
Yeah.
So this was a criticism that we got. Another criticism that I got is why are Israelis portrayed in a good way, and from Israelis why Palestinians criminals are portrayed in a good way. So nobody this is not a big criticism, but some people didn't like how the others were portrayed.
Yeah, that's another strong point in there. When I was watching it, and then those police officers, they were just saying like this and that about the Palestinians and calling them. It was like sort of like a tribal thing.
Yeah.
They were saying they are dangerous. They don't like us. They don't. Does that still exist as strongly as it was portrayed in the film, or is that hate really strong right now?
I think much more. I don't know if you follow up on politics yet.
I studied it for high school as like Gaza particularly, especially in 2014 when the massive conflict was like really high.
Yeah.
And I still couldn't understand like how this was. I can understand from the Palestinian perspective why they're so angry.
Yeah.
But I don't know about the Israeli side of what's their, how everyone sees themselves as a good person. Like how do they make sense, or how do they consciously live with this knowledge?
Yeah. I mean, it's not people in general are not aware of who is moving them and pushing their buttons. They just behave the way they're expected to behave, It's a system that rewards them if they behave accordingly and punishes them if not. Okay? And this system is supported by the media, the Israeli education system, and everything else. And there's the right way to go, and there's the wrong way to go in every society, right? So there's the right way to go is like, a Muslim marries a Muslim and a Christian marries a Christian, and if not, you get punished. And there's the right way to go, like, okay, there are enemies, and they're here to exterminate us, and we have to protect ourselves. And I think this is what sustains the hatred. I don't think that people are bad. I think that the system is corrupt, and the system has its own.
But don't people
gain.
make them system?
Yes,
Like we inadvertently like make the system. Yet how could the system make you get what I mean? Like we fill the system.
Yeah.
Yet how does it, if we all have good intentions and good,
Yeah.
if we think we're good and we are good human beings,
Yeah.
like how could the system somehow cause us to do something so against our?
Because we're ignorant. We don't know. We know only what we're fed, and we don't want to know anything else. We would like to stay in our comfort zone. We would like to believe that the sun will shine tomorrow. That's it. We want to put some order in this chaos that exists out there, because it's very, very complicated. And we don't want to see it as like, okay, human beings, they're very complex. It's not about black and white. It's not about good and bad. But it's easier to see it as good and bad, And most people choose this way. It's like, okay, this is what's been dictated. I don't wanna contradict it. I don't wanna question it. This is how things are.
So that's how they see it.
Yes. This is how most human beings see reality. Don't you agree?
That's true. We generalize. We try to define
easier.
and put things in boxes.
Yes. Yeah, and on shelves, and like put some order in the chaos, and that's it, and limit the choices that we have. We don't want to be choosing from like endless options. Give me this or that, and I will choose. And I'll choose based on what my group chooses.
But because this Israeli and Palestinian conflict has been going on for decades, since the 1940s, do you ever think this would somehow end? Because both sides are so hostile.
Yeah.
From what I see as an outsider, viewing it through the eyes of the media, and what I've read, I don't see a lot of possibilities.
It will end, It has to end. It's worse. It's not about. We live in a society that expects everything to be like immediate. So this is why, like, okay, when will this end? It will end. Worst things in history end. Slavery ended, right?
Yeah.
And it went on for 400 years. So we cannot lose hope. Of course it will end, And some people suffered more than we did, and their suffering ended, So it will end. I don't know how. I don't have a lot of, hope in the way things are right now. But generally speaking, yes, I'm very hopeful that the occupation will end. It just needs a lot of things. That's the
And
thing.
is like how what we see in the media, is that really how it is on the ground? How Palestinians view Israelis, how Israelis view Palestinians, with such, because all you see is like, very hatred,
Yeah.
a lot of hostility between the two parties.
Yeah.
Is it too extreme? Are they trying to have an angle at what they want to portray, or is it different?
In the media.
I mean, like in reality, and then
Yeah.
versus the media.
I mean, the media is looking for the juicy stuff, and the stuff that serves their agendas. No, it's very, very diverse. Yes, of course, it's an unjust situation where one country is occupying another people, and one country is not treating their Palestinian citizens equally. Okay?
So this is black and white, segregated.
Yeah, this is like
on the ground.
Yes, of course. It's like,
Very rule-based law that this is very segregated.
yeah, you have roads for Palestinians and roads for Israelis. You have buses for Palestinians and buses for Israelis in the West Bank. This is apartheid, It's
Yeah.
by any means, there's a wall that separates. It's a 9-meter high wall, the separation wall. I don't know. It's the biggest wall in the world that separates the West Bank from Israel. There are laws that discriminate Palestinians in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
You can read about them online. There are around 50 laws, mainly in owning property, like
Mm-hmm.
land and housing, but also in education, mainly in funding education, and like how much a Palestinian village in Israel will receive money and how much the same amount of people in an Israeli village will get, and a lot of other things. So this is obvious, but it's also very, very diverse. On the personal level, there's a lot of friendships, a lot of collaborations.
Mm-hmm.
Because, people at the end, they want to live, they want to be happy under any circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
So they normalize their life, which is bad sometimes because they get used to their own suffering. It's like someone that has a chronic disease. It's like you have like, I don't know, an injury in your back. And the doctors, they tell you, listen, there's nothing we can do. It's going to hurt till the end of your life. And you learn to live with this pain.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't try to resolve it, okay? And this is the situation of a lot of people. But, recently there's a lot of movements inside Israel, both for Palestinians and Israelis, that are dropping, the politics, in the sense that politics are not going to resolve, or politicians are not going to resolve the problems. So we have to take things into our hands and try to build something. So it's happening in the arts and culture. So people are not waiting for governments or politicians to help promote cultural events and collaborations, and they're just doing it without money, just themselves, without money from government.
Which is like a very positive
Yes.
step.
And you see it a lot. And also in terms of like, okay, politically we were denied from our identity. Up until the 90s, you say that you're Palestinian in Israel, you go to prison. It was illegal.
To be Palestinian.
To call yourself, to identify as a Palestinian. You're
Really?
Arab Israeli. It was illegal till like 94 or something like this. And the Palestinian flag was illegal. Now it's legal. Now you can have a Palestinian flag. And so people waited. It's like, okay, let's wait for them to recognize us as Palestinians. And now you don't need this. So now, like a week ago, we had a Palestinian jazz festival in Haifa, inside Israel. And we have a few Palestinian film festivals that happen simultaneously, like in different places of the historical Palestine, like in Gaza and the West Bank and inside the Green Line. And so people are no longer waiting for politicians and the politics, and they're just taking initiative in creating the reality that they want to see.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It seems like a very it seems like it's going to go maybe soon, maybe like in the next 10, 20, 30 years might be resolved, but looking at it now, doesn't look like it.
No.
Well, what's your next movie about?
Well, I can't really
can you
talk much about
Okay.
it, but it's about a family drama that takes place in Haifa, actually, which is not Jaffa. It's a different kind of movie. It's again a lot of stories that get combined and meet in certain points, and you discover things as you go. So you understand things in a certain way, and then you discover that they weren't exactly the way you understood. It's a very social / political film that actually create the bridges between social and political. Just like shows how this, how the political and the social are interlinked.
I forgot to mention, but why did you choose filmmaking? What drove you to this career? Was it a sudden day?
No, it wasn't a sudden day. No, of course not. I've been writing and acting mainly. So I started with acting and writing since the age of 12, 13 or something like this.
Right.
So for me, it started with acting mainly. Theater plays in school, but also writing sketches and doing this like 3-minute, 5-minute sketches in school. And the love of watching films came from my father, who's a really cinephile. He's a carpenter, but he watches like a film a day. And back in the day, it was like, I don't know if you know it, we had like VHS, you know, like video
Okay,
cassettes.
yeah.
And you had to go to this special place and to rent those cassettes for like 3 days and then return them. You know, it's before we had internet. So my dad would always have us watch a French film because we went to a French school, and those films were good. Like French cinema was good. So we started with like not silly, very good comedies with like Louis de Funès and stuff like this. But then, you know, we started watching like more interesting things and Godard and stuff like this. And we were allowed to watch like an action film as well. So it was, and he chose it for us. So not too much violence. So it was like Bruce Lee usually.
Yeah.
So we get to watch all the Hong Kong films and the Bruce Lee film. And then in time, you know, it becomes a habit. You start watching films. You realize that you're a good storyteller. But I ended up studying engineering because it was a hobby, you know. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I like it. I like making film. And I did films a lot in school, in high school.
Yeah.
Because we had a VHS camera, a big one. I was like filming and editing tape to tape, like VHS to VHS. And then I went and studied engineering. And then I realized that I don't want to do engineering.
Yeah.
And I went to work in a restaurant, which was the restaurant that you see in Ajmer.
That was the restaurant.
Yeah.
Right.
Most of the stories, they come from actually this restaurant.
Okay.
The real stories that we dramatized. And there I started just making short films again. But like, you know, 10-minute long, 3-minute long, whatever.
What do your family say when you want to switch?
I don't know. Nothing.
Yeah?
Yeah, they liked it. I
don't know. Yeah.
And then, I mean, my dad is in the film. My mom is in the film.
Really?
My 3 brothers are in the film. Abu Ilyas is my cousin. So, so the whole family is in the film.
Really?
Yeah. And my father has 2 scenes. He's sitting in this coffee shop with the shisha.
Okay.
And then the kids come and try to sell him and then he goes to the gas station and fill up.
Yes.
So, and my mom, she's just an extra in a restaurant with my big brother and his wife.
Yeah.
So everybody's in the film. My uncle is my father in the film.
Okay.
So Benji's dad is my real uncle.
Yeah.
And the kid Abed Salim that gets attacked that gets arrested by the police, he's my little brother.
Okay.
And he's my producer also.
Right.
In my next film. So yeah, and then I started making films, and then I met Yaron, my partner in Ajami, and then he told me, it's like, yeah, I love. He was managing this film festival, and I screened my film there. It was a kind of a project that they did. I said, like, I love the way you think. It was a mockumentary, and he said, like, let's work together. I said, what do you mean work together? It's like, write a script. I don't know nothing about writing a script, you know. I'm just like having fun. He said, like, so let's have fun. And I kept on working, you know, in the restaurant, and then I got into it. It's like I started like thinking about it in a professional way, and I got a job as a personal assistant to a director in this film called Syrian Bride. And there I started like learning. It's like about it's actually an industry, you know, being on set. And although I was on set before as an actor. Yeah, and then, you know, I taught myself editing, and the first professional thing I edited was this behind the scene for the Syrian Bride, which is on the DVD. And, you know, and then I met this director and started editing for her documentaries, short documentaries. Then she got me this job in a TV station where I started editing stuff. And then we made the film. Like 7 years later, it took 7 years. Yeah, to make this film. Yes.
Took 7 years.
Yeah, 7.5 years later.
Right.
Yeah. We started in 2001. No, it's more. And it came out in 2009, 2010, 9, 10 years, like more, 8 years, 8.5 years.
And all this time you were thinking about it.
Writing it, and then taking a break and going to work because we needed money. We were both singles, you know. Yeah. And then we started, you know, doing the workshops that took a whole year, and, you know, in casting and convincing people to put money in it.
Did you ever feel like it wasn't worth it? Like
no.
Any point?
No.
Right.
Of course it was worth it. You know, it's you know, films are like this. It's a project for life. You know, you don't. It's not like you know. something that is in you and comes out instantly. Like, I don't know, it's like you hear this music and you play it and it becomes a song. Sometimes it's that quick. Or a drawing. You know, I saw there's a video of this amazing, he passed away, Palestinian artist, Asim Abu Shakra, and he draws this amazing drawing in like 25 minutes, and it's filmed, and it's amazing drawing, you know, 25 minutes. And he had it in his head, and just like puts it out. A film is a process. You have an idea in your head, but then you start finding flows in it, and you need to write a script, and a script is a long process. It's a non-linear process of trying to understand who are your characters, where are they taking us, what are you trying to prove, and a lot of different elements that are built just like little by little, you know, and they're not built like in a linear way. It's not like, okay, let me write this film from beginning to end. It doesn't work this way, you know, because you write it, you reach a point, you go like, what would my character do here? I'm not sure. Why am I not sure? Because I don't know him that well. I don't know his relationship with his wife. Okay, let me get back to his wife. So it's not a linear process where you know everybody new, you know, and they take you somewhere. So you go back to developing the character. And then it leads you to trying to understand.
It's a very long process.
It's a very long process, yeah.
But honestly, well done with your movie. Really appreciate your time. I want to be respectful. You got other commitments, but
Yes.
thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scandar.